my channel. Welcome to our January book chat. We have a nice stack of books. These were really good reads, but I got a lot of thoughts, so we're gonna go ahead and jump into it. So the first book I have here is My Gang, The Thursday Murder Club. This is Richard Osman's fifth book in the series, and this is called The Impossible Fortune. Now, this one had us all over the place. I'm going to say that. And at the end, I was like, dang, that really does suck. But this one was the gang getting back together. If you are in the series, you know that some of, or all of them are actually recovering and dealing with something major. But one of our gang members in particular, and we are seeing how they deal with that and how they pretty much get back to themselves while still feeling all the feelings of what has taken place. You see family stepping up for family. You find our old 80, 70, late 70 friends really dealing with being old and really trying to still be protection for their family. We find out how enemies can become besties. And just a whole lot of people going through a whole lot of changes. So I really did like this one. There is a fortune involved, so I am going to say that. But I feel like even though there is the crime in the background, everything that happens around the crime, I feel like is really the highlight of all of these books. So if you're looking for an easy mystery, a light mystery, this is definitely one to get into. And yes, I was all in my feelings. And I can't wait for the next one. But I don't know if we're going to get a new one of the Thursday Murder Club this year, because in this one, which I think is really cool, he actually takes us through the writing process. Well, at least in this one, because I have the Barnes & Noble's exclusive version of the book, but he takes us through the writing process, and like when you read that and then you read how the story actually goes, it's really cool. But at the end of that, or in his acknowledgement somewhere, he's talking about another book in the We Solve Murders series, which is the series he came out with. I don't think it was this year, but like the year before last. Maybe it was, well, not this year, it's 2026. So maybe that came out no, because this came out in 25. So maybe that was 24. Either way, he mentioned that he's coming up with the next book in that series. So I don't know if we're going to get another Thursday Murder Club this year, but I really do hope we do. You know, everybody ain't Frieda McFadden, so everybody can't pop books out like that, but I would love to get back into this game. And it took me forever to read this, because I was just like, are we not getting any more after this one when he started the new series? And we definitely are. The next one is How to Seal Your Own Fate. This is another light mystery. This is by Kristen Perrin. She wrote the book. Let me find the title before I tell a lie. The first, How to Solve Your Own Murder. That was the first one in the series. This is a young lady who basically, she has inherited her great aunt's fortune, and in the first one there was the murder of her great aunt, and I can say that because it literally tells you on the back of the book, and they had to basically solve that murder. Like, her aunt's been saying for years and years someone was gonna murder her and all of that. This one picks up after that, a few months, or not a year later, so I think it's like a few months later, and it basically picks up on her life, but we still get that back time period of when her aunt was young. So it's other things that occur. So the first one basically runs through how her aunt basically was told a fortune. And the fortune said she was going to be murdered. And the aunt basically fixated on that in the first one. The aunt does get murdered. But in that book, it's going to the past and back to the present. But the aunt's past. So the aunt is very present in the book, but as her young self. Now, in this one, you still get that, because the murder that takes place in this book is actually tied to that as well. I will tell you, this one did have a lot going on. Now, the first one, I feel like you could follow a little bit more, but in this one, I was like, well, dang, who is really the bad guy? Because it's almost like you got the story and then they threw something else at you. So I do think this one gets a little cluttered, but I still like the ease of this one, because I read thrillers, mysteries, and a little bit of horror for those of you who are new. So when I have like lighter mysteries in there, I always tend to love them, even when they get a little quirky and a little messy. because it's just light and you're just like, okay, what is going on and why'd y'all do this thing? Now, I will say there was some deeper items going on in this one, so there are some trigger warnings, but I will leave that up to y'all to look them up because I don't want to give a trigger warning that's going to be a spoiler and I don't necessarily know what's going to trigger you. So I will just say there are some things you are probably going to want to look up, but I did like this one a lot. Now the next one, The Secret Next Door, is by Rebecca Taylor. I'm not even gonna lie, I gotta look back at this. Yeah, okay. So this one was, all right, this is bad. Because I said we had a good stack. We did have a good stack. This book was good when I was reading it. But this book had a lot of stuff that pissed me off too. But this book was also hard because okay, I'm trying to see if I should say this is a, it wasn't bad. It was forgettable. Because clearly I can't remember what the hell it was about. So let me get a second to refresh my memory. All right. Okay. Yeah, okay. This one was okay. This one reads pretty easy. I think the part that I have an issue with is the person, I don't know. I kind of feel like the person who actually did the crime came out of left field on this one. Even though there are things in the beginning that are going to make you think it's a certain person, I feel like when they actually tell you who the person was, it's almost like I feel like there would have been other reasons for it to have been somebody else. Like the story behind why they did it wasn't as, I feel like the person wasn't as big enough a character for it to have been them. So that might kind of give it away when you're reading it. Like, I feel like the person was involved, but the fact that they were the person who did it, they were present in the book, but not present as some other people where you would think it would be them. The other thing is they drop a whole nother, like, murder in here. The murder, and it was just like, where did that come? This one was just okay. Maybe this one I got from the Dollar Tree, so I don't feel so bad. Maybe you don't need to read this. It's by Rebecca Taylor. It's called The Secret Next Door. It's more messy gossip, and then they also try to make it seem like another person was really weird, but the thing that they were doing that was so sneaky was kind of off. So maybe pass on this one, because now that I'm remembering this one, I think I was just like, yeah, I feel like there were just a lot of things that they built up that didn't deliver. And when they delivered, it was like, y'all could have done better, because I feel like somebody else could have been that person. So yeah, that's just, we're just not gonna worry about that. But other than that, everything else was great. Okay. So as for Andrea, a thriller by Noelle Ihli. I think this one was really, really good. So trigger warnings all over this book, because there are a lot of, basically this book is about women who have been murdered by the serial killer, and they are still present. Their spirits are still very present, and their spirits are working to stop this person from doing this again. Love that concept. I actually read, was it in this book that I read it? Yeah, she does like a letter at the beginning. This book was written because she was saying like murderers, like, let me see who she based this one off of. Give me 1 second. Ted Bundy. So inspired by Ted Bundy's victims, because she's basically like, the media gives all of these serial killers all of this notoriety and all of like this attention, and just everybody knows them, but nobody actually knows like the victims of those serial killers. So this was really focusing less on the killer and more of the victims, and giving them a voice, giving them a life, and making them whole people. And I think she did that really well. It's 4 different women that they talk about. It's Sky, Bricia, it's 3. Sky, Bricia, and Megan are the 3 women in this book that have been murdered basically by this man, and they're trying to stop him. It gets very, very intense at the end, I feel like, and I will actually say there's a 4th person, but I'll let y'all read the book to find out who that is. And it was also sad in points because it does highlight how white women, basically, when something happens to them, people take it seriously. But there is a, I believe she's a Spanish girl. I think she's Puerto Rican, but I don't quote me. But she's a Hispanic descent. Wait, is that right? Yes. And her particular murder isn't taken as seriously, or she's just a runaway, like her parents aren't taking it seriously. So you read that here, and I think that's good that she highlighted that. It's very sad, but that's reality. And then it talks about this man and his confidence, his life, and kind of how they use that against him in this book to try to stop him from doing what he's doing. So that's as for Andrea. She has a lot of a lot of other books as well. This was my first book that I read from her, but she does have quite a few. Wait, now I know there was a book list in here somewhere. Maybe I made that up. But I believe she does have quite a few because when I was in the bookstore, I was like, oh, I just read something by her. So I think she has like quite a few other books as well. All right, the next one, Hidden Pictures by Jason Rekulak. Now, this is the guy who wrote The Last Guest at the Wedding. And I talked about that book. In that book, the sister was annoying. But that one was more like, oh my gosh, I can't believe this is actually happening. And I can't believe, like, you know, this is what it is kind of thing. It almost, that one, even though it had murder, that one I felt like was more quirky. Even though there were definitely some serious notes in there. That one read kind of more, I don't know, comical in a way. And I think it was because of the aunt and like how like every time the brother who was the dad was trying to be like, this doesn't make any sense, why do I have to do this? It just came out comical. This one does not. This one is about a woman who used to have a drug addiction and she is sober and she gets a job as a nanny for this kid. And she gets this job through a sponsor of hers that knows these people. And so she's at these people's house and the little boy is just drawing. And then his drawings go from like kiddie playful drawings to like really deep drawings. And one of the cool things about this book is they actually have illustrations through it, which you don't typically get in adult books. So like his drawings start super playful and then they go like super sophisticated and scary. So the girl, important to note, the mother is also a psychiatrist or like she's either a psychiatrist or a psychologist, one of the two, but she's in like the mental health field. And she is like, basically like, I'm really concerned, like what's going on. And the mom is like, oh, it's nothing. They're just expressing this. But all of these crazy things just start happening. And basically, she notices some, let's see. Okay, they say it here, forces. So I will say this one does have a smidge of supernatural stuff in here. Well, okay, it has some supernatural stuff, but just kind of like this one where they were spirits there. That's how this one is. But then they have like it goes a little further in like a scene. There's like a seance. Let me just throw that out there. But nothing too crazy. That's what I'm trying to get at. So I'm trying to let people know who aren't really for that, because that's not my thing. But it wasn't crazy in this book to where I was like, okay, I'm going to stop now. But basically, she's trying to figure out what's going on. Now, here are my problems with this book. I feel like this man just liked to write annoying characters, because this girl was so annoying in some parts. And it's just like, can you just stop for a second? Can you think about what you're doing? Because you're trying to solve this issue, but you almost make it worse because you have no control over your mouth and you don't know how to be more sneaky, basically, to try to figure out what happens. Now, I will say I was not expecting what had actually happened. And I feel like with his other book, I wasn't expecting that to be the thing, and I wasn't expecting that to be the thing in this book. But I really enjoyed it. So this one is just written chapter. There's no past, present. I will say I feel like some of the areas they kind of dragged on a long time. It's like, okay, y'all could have like wrapped that up in 2 pages, but they dragged it out. But overall, I really think this was a good read. I think For me, I feel like that one and the first one are so different because, like I said, the first one for me just came off comical for some reason. Whereas, and I really think it's just because the sister was just so freaking annoying, and like the thing she would like brush off was like, girl, and the brother was kind of like, so I feel like that one played more comical, where this one I feel like was a little more creepy, kind of. So I feel like they're different, and I don't know which one I like better, but I think they were both good. So yeah, I would say read both of those, but I definitely think that one is more creepy than the other one, where the other one was more funny, comical, and like thrilling, where this one had more creep factor. I'll say that. Now, to this one, another light one. So I had a lot of pretty light ones this month. And I think that was maybe purposeful because of like the reads that I did in December. But this is The Game is Afoot. It's by Elise Bryant, and we know this face here. This is Miss Mavis Miller. The first book in this series is called it's Elementary. And Elise Bryant writes other books. She is writing another book now, and I'm so freaking annoyed because the book that is going to come out is a young adult book. She writes young adult books. One of her other books that I know but I haven't read is Reggie and Delilah's Year of Falling. It's a romance and it's young adult. I don't read romance like that. So I was hoping we would be getting another one of these this year, but there is a third one coming, but I don't know if it's coming out this year. Let's talk about Mavis. Mavis was so god-darn annoying in this book. I don't remember her being that annoying in the first one. And I thought it was just me, because I don't read reviews. If you're new, I don't read a review before I read a book. If I'm going to read a book, I'm going to read a book. If I have like a review in my mind, it's by someone that I watched, that I heard say something, but I don't read like reviews on Goodreads until I'm done reading the book. And it's normally because I want to know, do y'all feel the same way about the book that I feel about the book? And people did feel the same way about this book. This girl was annoying. She was being so extra annoying and then contradictory, almost like old girl in this book. So I came off of one annoying character to another. If you are trying to solve a crime or a potential crime or something freaky going on, sometimes you need to shut up. Sometimes you need to shut up. Sometimes you need to listen. Sometimes you need to think things through. And these heifers was not doing that. And I think that's why I'm so annoyed by this book. Because she didn't do that. And Mavis didn't do that. She was just almost to the point where I was like, ho, I'm about tired of you. I'm really tired of you. First of all, that was annoying. Number two, I really, really, really need her to be able to embrace the softness and the love she has. Like, I get it. So this book doesn't have Black trauma, but it does touch on issues with Black families, Black friends, Black professionals, Black women specifically, and how they're viewed and things like that. And I get it. I get what Elise was trying to do. But I think in showing the I have to do it all, I have to be tough, it's like, girl, we're not doing that no more. We are not doing that anymore. Okay? And in trying to show that, I feel like she harped on it too long, and it made Mavis piss me off. Okay? Because it was like, heifer, if you just think for 5 minutes, it made her messy. It just made her all over the place. Then I feel like in book one, like I really don't remember her being that bad in book one. But I still like the book. I really did like the book. Did I like it as good as the first one? No, but I think like sometimes that second book don't always hit the same. But I did like it, and I'm ready for the third because it left on a cliffhanger, and I was like, oh, I got to read the third. But that was the biggest annoying thing in this book. So if you did find her annoying in the first one, you dang sure going to find her annoying in this one. But it was so good. I just want Mavis, I need Mavis in the next one to be soft. I need her to fall into love in the community that she is around her, especially with the men that are trying to be there for her and support her. And it was like, she just kept, and it was like, girl, I'm going to slap you. I'm going to slap you. The next thing that annoyed me is if you're trying to solve a crime. If you're trying to solve a crime. And the crime, like, potential evidence falls in your hands, you can't be like, let me have a moral compass and not do this. It was just like, girl, if you had just shut up the first time, you would have known what was going on. I think it's always funny though in these books. It's like so many people, and let me say, this is like Hallmark vibes, y'all. This is Hallmark, but black Hallmark. So it's like a Hallmark movie with black people. That's how, you know how light those, like, it'd be a murder mystery, but the thing still be light, you know? That's what this gives. But with black people, the thing is, there was just so many, because it's like that suburban neighborhood, it's like a lot of y'all doing a whole lot of stuff y'all ain't supposed to be doing. Like, so you have multiple crimes going on, not necessarily like a murder, but just other crimes that people commit. Now, there are white folks in this book too, because a part of the tension that I will say is the gentrifying of neighborhoods. But I think it is also unique in this because another community is feeling the effects of that aren't black. And I was like, okay, show it that it affects, you know, everybody when it happens to different neighborhoods. So that also happens in this book. The other thing that is in this book that I didn't like, I was about to say, but I love the fact that she has all that love around her. I don't like what could potentially be happening in book 3 because of all that love around her. I'm like, no. Pause on that. Can we not? And I don't want to say it because I don't want to give it away, but can we not do that? Can we just move forward? Sometimes we just want to go forward. Y'all know the movie Meet the Robinsons by Disney Channel? I like the movie. Moving freaking forward. And sometimes that's what you want. So I love that that's there for her, but I don't love that that's there for her, if that makes sense. Now, as far as the cursing in this one, I don't think it was as bad as the first one. I think it did ramp up at the end because I know in the first one, I was pretty surprised at like how much, like I don't have an issue with cursing in books. Like that didn't bother me, but I think it threw me off because it does give Hallmark vibes. But they had dropped the F-bomb like a couple times in the first one. I was like, God dang, this is spicy. Verbally spicy, you know, Hallmark movie. This one wasn't that bad. So if you read the first one and that was a concern, that I don't believe it was as bad. But I also don't know if I just didn't think it was bad because she was so annoying that I focused on her annoying me more. But I really don't think it was that bad until the end. At the end, when like all the stuff was going down, that's when I felt like it was more. But I still think overall it was less language than the first one. I liked it, like I said, it left on a cliffhanger, and I was like, can we just get the third freaking book now? And when I looked in Goodreads, there's a third book with no cover, no release date, no nothing. But I feel like it already had a review. But maybe somebody, I think the review was just like, oh, I'm so excited you're going to have another one. I'm like, y'all leaving 5-star reviews. Y'all didn't even get no book yet. But, like, it didn't actually have a release date, a cover, or anything. Like I said, when I looked up what, like, was coming up, because she was coming out with another one, she was talking about a young adult book. So, I don't know how long we have to wait. I believe this one did drop last year. So, this, I mean, if she doesn't drop one, yeah, this dropped last year. So, if she doesn't drop one this year, she might be, like, skipping a year, like Richard Deere, and giving, like, the kids a book, and then give us a book, you know, kids, us, whatever, back and forth. But still good read. And I definitely feel like if you want a light, comical murder mystery, go with the Elise Bryant, especially if you want to read something by a black author and about black people. Oh, and the other thing I liked about this one, because I always have to shout out my elderly folk. If y'all know Miss Joyce is, I think that's her name. Miss Joyce is going to show up in a big way. And the neighbor, I can't remember the neighbor's name. I don't know if I'll be able to find it. Oh, I don't think it's in the back. And let's see, it should be definitely somewhere close to the end of the book. But anyway, the lady, Mackenzie, I think that's her name. Mackenzie, the lady that Miss Joyce, the new neighbor that was coming into the neighborhood, one of the people that they got problems with because of gentrification, she shows up in a big way too. So I really do like how Elise Bryant gave those characters more light and gave them more substance, and how she incorporated them in the book in a bigger way. So I do like that, and I think everybody will like that. So shout out to Elise Bryant for that. The last book, a Frieda McFadden book, and nobody had to tell me nothing about this book to buy. I bought this on my own. Y'all, I even bought another one. Her newest one. Don't know what it's about. Don't know what it's about. But I walked in the store, and I was like, oh, let me see what's out here, what's new. And there wasn't a lot, and a book that I thought was coming out, which I feel like authors should not be able to change their expected release date. If you say, this is your release date, don't push it 2 months back. So I was like, this book already out? Because like they talk about it in this book, and I know this book came out last year, but she's talking about that book. I think it's called Dear Debbie or something in the back of this one. But I don't typically like to read ahead or read like the chapters of the next book. I just get the next book if I like the author, of course. And but I was like, there's something about having a Frieda McFadden book in your stack. So 2 books in a row. Nobody had to sell me on a Frieda McFadden book. I was like, Frieda released the book. At least Frieda out here releasing books. Didn't know it was out. Didn't know it was gonna be out in January. But she's releasing books, so I'm gonna get it because she's consistent. And it's just good to have one to go to. And I really was like, okay, I'm in the mood to go to this one. I actually honestly think I bought this because it was blue. I think I just really, really like the blue cover. And then the special like sprayed edges and the wording. It says, what is she hiding? So this one I kind of clocked it though, I will say. Let me see how much they say so I don't give too much away, because I didn't know anything about the book. So when I was reading it, I was like, oh, that's what's going on. So who knows what the storm will blow in. Casey's cabin in the wilderness is not built for a hurricane. Her roof shakes, the lights flicker, and the trees outside her front door sways ominously in the wind. But she's a lot more worried about the girl she discovers lurking outside her kitchen window. She's young, she's alone, and she's covered in blood. What the hell are you gonna let that girl in your house for? Hurricane or not, I was leaving her ass outside. Okay? Judge me if you want to. If I see anybody outside, lurking outside my property, and you got blood on you. First of all, my ass wasn't even going outside. Let's start there. Because when she went outside for the little girl, the hurricane had already started. Like the storm had already started. Okay? I don't care what I see outside. I'm staying inside. I'm going to call cops. And my phone working. And at that point in time, her phone was working, so she had options. She chose violence against herself. So part of me is like, how am I feel sorry for you? Because you chose this life. But okay. The girl won't explain where she came from. And then you can come in my house and not tell me where you come from. Or loosen her grip on the knife in her right hand. And when Casey makes a disturbing discovery in the middle of the night, things take a turn for the worse. The girl has a dark secret, one she'll kill to keep. And if Casey gets too close to the truth, she may not live to see the morning. So this is a back and forth. You know, she likes to do then nows. This is a back and forth. This is 2 perspectives. And honestly, this is just a book about what happens when you don't get the proper therapy that you need, okay? There's trauma. Oh, shout out to Frieda for this. Frieda said, I ain't gonna tell you what the trigger warnings are. Go look them up. But no, I like the way she did it, because instead of putting them in the book, because she also said, I don't know what's going to trigger you. Like certain things, I don't think are triggering, and they trigger somebody. So she's like, I don't know what's going to trigger you. Go to the website and read it. And I thought that was good, because that is true. Like I can say, I know certain things, because certain things I'll read and I'm like, hey, we going too far, or why do you have to be so graphic or stuff like that. But there could be something else that doesn't bother me. The language, for example, doesn't bother me, but that could really bother somebody. And there could be, something regarding, trying to think, losing your job. Like maybe you may have just gone through that. So that could trigger you. It could be something, losing your job isn't simple, but it could be a storyline like that where it doesn't warrant a trigger warning or something like that in your mind or the author's mind. So I think it's really cool that she's basically saying, people have basically said to her like, hey, so let me read it. It says I'm just going to read like the first 2 paragraphs, but even though my books are thrillers in a genre that traditionally has dark elements, yes, we know that. So that's the other thing. It's like, well, you're getting something dark. So, because back in the day, Fair Street, all of that, we didn't get no trigger warnings. So it says, calm down. I do my best to keep them as family friendly as I possibly can. I don't know, Frieda, because some of these things, I thought that was funny when she said family friendly. I'm like, girl, you be killing people. People be locked in basements. People be getting thrown around and plotting on like they maids. It be a lot, but okay. You're not going to come across any graphic scenes of violence or sex. I think it's funny because she actually spelled it out. Mostly because I know my family members will be reading. So basically she's like, I try not to be too crazy because my mom and daddy watch it. My kids watch it. Like that kind of thing. And I think having that type of respect for other people, I think that is definitely not available a lot in this day and age. But anyway, however, people have emotional responses to different things. And some of my books delve into more controversial topics. So for this reason, I created a list of content warnings from all my thrillers, which can be found linked at the top of my website, FriedaMcFadden.com. So basically she was saying people, have been having responses. She's hearing this and she's like, okay, I'm putting on the website. And she does say if you go to that website, though, it might spoil the twist. And that's another thing. It's so hard to sometimes talk about trigger warnings because that is what twists the story. But I just thought that was cool that she's like, hey, I got a website. So anytime I publish a book, all the trigger warnings are going to be there. You can read them and just know that it might spoil the book versus putting in the book, somebody reading it and be like, oh, dang, I didn't mean to read that. But anyway, so all of these people needed therapy. That's all I was talking about. All of them needed help because, yes, there was some stuff in here and I was like, you are the lowest piece of scum for that, right? But if person A at the top had gotten therapy, then it wouldn't have affected person B. And if person B had gotten therapy, then, da-da-da-da-da. And if this other person, there was a whole lot of missed therapy options in this entire freaking book. So basically, Casey's in this cabin. She lets this girl in the house. And like the thing basically, they outline everything. But you're trying to figure out what's the connection. Why is this girl here? What's her story? And how does this relate to Casey? So there's a book that I really, really, really wanted to save because it reminds me of that book, the way it's told. And I love it and I clocked it. So I kind of already figured out like, is this it? And I was super, super close because it gave the vibes of the other book. And when it happened, I was like, I knew it. I may have called it wrong a little bit at the beginning, but I knew it. And I don't know if I should tell the book. If you ask me the book is in the comments, I'll tell you. But that way, okay, I'm going to say it right now. And that way, if you have read that book, I don't know. I'm going to just throw out the authors. It is a book by the Sarah Picketon and now... Why can't I think of the other girl's name? I know one girl named is Sarah, the author doer. I'm going to put their names on the screen. It reminds me of one of their books. I won't say which one. And I like that in this book. So when I realized, I was like, okay. But I will say, once you got that confirmation, it kind of went dull for a bit. Then it picked back up at the end. But I was like, therapy was needed here. So it is a very interesting book. It definitely keeps you on your toes. I feel like she was just being dumb and ditzy though, because she did some really stupid stuff. Like, you're afraid, but then you put yourself in a position where you give the potential murderer or the person you think is a murderer more power over you. I think it is very shocking what happened on both sides. And I'm like, you still didn't go to therapy even at the end. Now, the other part that pissed me off, there's another character in here that was trying their best to be better. And because of a trollop in this book, who, yes, was going through some things, it affected that person's life. And though they are responsible for their own actions and therapy was needed, it kind of made me mad because they really, really were trying to be better. Fast forward to the present. And I mean, like the president in the book, out the past. The twist at the end broke my heart and then slapped me around. And then I was like, you lying to me. Pissed me off. I was not going to say it pissed me off, but it did kind of piss me off because I didn't want that to be the case. So overall, it was a Frieda McFadden. It was Frieda McFadden in her true form. It did get a little boring, but I thought it was still a good read. And it's like literally under 300 pages. Like, it's like maybe 270, 270-ish. So a really good, quick read. Oh, gosh. Okay. So what are we going to say about this month reading? I enjoyed all my books. Except The Secret Next Door. I clearly didn't enjoy that one. It was kind of forgettable. But all the other books I thoroughly enjoyed. And several of them pissed me off. Because why are we making these choices? Like, sometimes you just really want the people in these books to be smarter. But they were still good. And so I had emotional responses. And they weren't all sad, which is good. Because we don't always want to be sad when we read them, right? So I really enjoy these books. I recommend every single one of these books except The Secret Next Door. And like I said, at this point, I'm just like, despite all the rumors about what Frieda do, I kind of, it's good to have a Frieda book on the stack. It's good because this came in a clutch. I was like, I'm going to read something that's going to be quick, twisty, kind of be like, really? That's far-fetched, but okay. And I got that from that. So I definitely love that. And I'm going to do, and I was just thinking about this because I feel like we try to do the wrap up at the end of the year. Like, and I haven't done this yet, like my favorite 2025 reads. And the reason I haven't done that is because if you guys are not new here, if you guys are new here, you don't know about my bookshelves that are over my door. So in order for me to get those reads, because I did that like mid last year, like in July, I have to pull those off. So I am not at this point ready to do my favorite reads. I think you should put this on your TBR for this year. I will do one. But I think what I do want to start doing though is start pulling out my favorites of the month. And then I want to like see what I think at the end of the year. So what I think I'm going to do is like in the caption, these books are moving all over the place, but I want to be able to show y'all all the titles. Again, so what I think I'm going to do, and I have to get better at this, but this is filling out the captions, and I've tried. I know in like my full TBR video, I didn't do it. That was a lot of books, y'all, and I'm sorry. I might go back and do it, but I want to get better at making sure, at least in like my wrap-ups, I put the names of the books, and then what I want to do is highlight like the 3 favorites out of that stack, or maybe not 3 favorites, because even with these are like my top books of the year, I don't ever pick a number. So maybe I won't limit myself to 3 or force myself to have 3, but I want to highlight like this was my favorite of the month, and then see at the end of the year if I feel like as strongly about that book. So for this month, and this one is kind of a cheat, and y'all might be like, it's not fair, but y'all know I'm gonna always put a Richard Osman book in my favorite reads, because this just feels very comforting, because it feels like family, it feels like love, it feels like joy, it feels like happiness, it feels like all the good things, you know, your annoying little friend. Oh, and Joyce, all the old people named Joyce. Joyce showed up in this one in a big freaking way. Okay, so this one, I'm always going to love these. Pretty much anything by Richard Osman. So yes, this is definitely a favorite of this month. The next one I will say is going to be As for Andrea. This is definitely definitely a favorite one of the month. And do I want to throw another one in the I'm gonna say The Game is Afoot. And okay, I struggle not because it wasn't a favorite read of the month, because I do have, like, Richard Osman is a comfort read for me. And because of the genre I like to read, a lot of times I be like, I need something light. So if you're like me, this book really, I loved it because I can see these, I know these characters. You know, it is very much a visual representation of, like I said, community and the life and the things you go through being, you know, Black, or being in a neighborhood that's changing and it seems to want to put you out of it. Like the issues in the first one with like the PTA, all of that, it just feels like you can relatable is what I was trying to get at. So relatable to these characters. So if you're looking for a thriller, and this is more mystery than thriller, but if you're looking for a thriller that you can relate to as a Black person, or you just want to get something different than, you know, the Frieda McFaddens, you know, nothing wrong with that, but you want something different, and this ain't like a reflection of you and your culture, I think this is a really good one. So I have to say The Game is Afoot was also a really good read, even though she was annoying. in this book. So those are my 3 favorites. The Impossible Fortune by Richard Osman, Ask for Andrea by Noelle, Ihli, and then The Game is Afoot. Those are the 3 in 2026. I'm like, you should be reading. So that way y'all get my tops as the year is going on. So here we go, guys. This is my stack for the month of January. As always, my name is Sarah Sho'Shanna. For those of you who are new, please join the family. And for those of you who keep coming back, I really appreciate you. Let me know what you read in January. Let me know what you plan on reading for February, because I have a big TBR. I don't know why. February only 28 days, but I got a pretty big TBR. So let me know what you are reading, and I will see you in the next one.